Kimi Raikkonen grew up in the woods surrounded by bears.
The bathroom was outside the house.
Lance Stroll, his dad just bought the team.
Good afternoon.
Formula One really is a wild place, and no one knows that better than Fernando Alonso.
Maybe it's your last race.
Before we go any further, let's look at a man whose success defined an era, Fernando Alonso. Yet his journey began with no chance of success. Alonso was born in a small town in northern Spain. Despite the fact that no one there had even heard of racing,
Did my first race at the age of 3. It was a street circuit.
he competed in a homemade kart.
Se hizo un car pequeñito para mi hermana, que tiene 5 años más que yo.
Podemos decir que la historia tiene un previo, que es mi historia en el kart.
No le gustó y bueno, pues me cogieron y me pusieron a mí.
This is how Fernando's racing career began. But there was never enough money. His father was a mechanic at an explosives factory, which explains a lot about Alonso's temperament. And his mother, Ana Diaz, worked in a department store. So racing was more like...
The weekends was kind of fun weekend with other families, this motorsport, but with no expectations at all that that could become one day a professional thing.
Fortunately, it turned into something much bigger, and they had to shift into fourth gear. His mother sewed his racing suit, and his father improvised with repairs. They couldn't even afford wet weather tires. That's when Alonso learned to control the car where others lost it.
Alonso's going around the outside of him. Alonso's through, up into fourth place, and that's the first time he's had the upper hand over Schumacher.
The family gave up everything for his career.
Ningún lujo ahí, no hay ninguna comodidad, no hay nada, ¿no? Pues una familia preparaba 2 bocadillos, iba a correr a un pueblo, corrían, echaban gasolina, echaban las ruedas y volvían a casa, ¿no?
And little by little, Alonso began to dominate karting.
Britain's most successful ever karting, but it is the checker flag. And it is victory for Fernando Alonso Diaz. The Spaniard wins it in the end after heavy pressure from Jimmy van der Ende.
In 1999, he stepped up to cars, and by 2001, he was already on the Formula One grid, alongside names we'll get to later.
In 2001 with Minardi, that I called my father on Sunday morning of the race. Try to enjoy because maybe it's your last race.
But that wasn't Alonso's last race. He was spotted by Flavio Briatore, and well, the rest is history. For some drivers, success is earned through blood, sweat, and years of sacrifice. For others, it's simply bought. Let's talk about a person whose father has a net worth of $3.5 billion and is of Canadian origin. Did you think it was Lance Stroll? Not at all. I'm talking about the man who in just one turn overtook Perez, Russell, Lewis Hamilton, and even the safety car. Unbelievable move from Latifi. Few people know that his father is the CEO of Safina Foods. That's why you might have seen the company's logo on Williams cars. He's also a major investor in the McLaren Group with a $200 million stake. And his mother, she comes from the Canadian royal family. Money wasn't just not a problem, it was limitless, and it paid off. He changed Formula One forever. In 2019, after 4 seasons in Formula 2 and a runner-up finish in the championship, Latifi, with Safina's support, bought a seat at Williams. But from day one, he was labeled a pay driver. Constant
Down into...
If you make a mistake, again,
accidents only fueled the outrage. And then came 2021.
Oh no! Nicholas Latifi has crashed, and I think that is at turn 14.
Because of him, a safety car appeared on the track, and what happened next changed F1 forever. You could see more details in my video about the final lap. What Latifi didn't realize was what the hell he had just unleashed. The backlash was brutal, death threats and online abuse so serious that he had to hire security and disappear from social media. A year later, he was gone. 3 seasons, 9 points. And if you think that drivers with parental money are not a problem, take a look at this example.
I swear, you guys don't support me at all. I do everything podcast. I don't have anybody fucking believe me. And I don't rate the championship anymore.
The driver everyone laughed at was Arjun Mani. But his story isn't just about disappointment, it's about conspiracy. His teammate was Santino Ferrucci, and as you might guess, his place on the team wasn't earned by talent. Mani began to suspect that his car had less power, and during the race, it was confirmed. Rumors spread that Ferrucci's family paid the team to give Arjun a worse engine. The FIA did investigate, but all they admitted was engine malfunction and replaced it. Still, that was only the beginning. At Silverstone, Santino showed his true colors again.
Is this the last lap? No, this is the slowdown lap. He's hit his teammate again! He's hit his teammate again!
He deliberately crashed into Mani. Later, he was even caught with his phone in the cockpit, like a spoiled teenager who couldn't survive without Instagram. The last straw was constant bullying from both Ferrucci and his father. This was the purest example of how nepotism poisons modern motorsport. Arjun, by contrast, came from a modest Indian family, in a country with no racing culture, no financial support. But his talent was obvious, and he was faster than his teammate. But money made the decision. He couldn't afford millions, and his career in Formula 2 ended. However, there are still drivers who reach the very top without crazy funding. Today, Kimi Raikkonen lives surrounded by yachts.
There is Kimi Raikkonen. He's not even gone back to the paddock.
And luxury. You might think he was born into wealth, but that's far from the truth. He grew up in a small Finnish town. His great-grandfather built their modest house with his own hands. They literally lived in the forest with brutal winters and bears nearby. His father, Matti, was a road builder. His mother, Paula, worked as an office clerk. They barely had enough money to survive, let alone finance a racing career.
His family didn't have much money and the bathroom was outside the house. So, Kimi's father saved up to build a bathroom inside the house, but in the end, he decided to use the money to buy a go-kart for his son.
That's why Kimi's father had several jobs. He worked as a taxi driver and even as a bouncer at a nightclub. But things were still so bad that they couldn't afford proper racing equipment. Kimi was racing in oversized hand-me-down helmets and patched-up overalls. The family gave up vacations, comfort, and every bit of savings to keep his dream alive. And it paid off. Kimi began to dominate karting in Finland, then across Europe. But when it came to move into single-seaters, money ran out, so Raikkonen left racing. He had to complete his compulsory military service.
Asento! Käännös vasempaan. Fight! Eteen! Vie!
Kimi spent his months as a driver in a reconnaissance unit. Quiet, disciplined, calm under pressure. This was the birth of the Iceman. When he returned, Kimi got another chance. Formula Renault. He dominated immediately, winning the British Championship. But once again, he needed funding. And then, unexpectedly...
I was a little bit lucky, really, because Peter Collins from Formula 1, who used to be with Lotus, he recommended this young Finnish guy and told us how incredible he was in karts.
They financed Kimi and brought him to Sauber for testing. Just a few days later, he was on track.
Not even for a moment did anyone believe him. But Peter Zalbar did, and he not only recognized his abilities, but also provided the support and encouragement.
But even then, he was almost denied his Formula 1 debut, and the one who stood in his way, Red Bull. In 2001, Sauber prepared Kimi as their main driver, but the team's biggest sponsor was Red Bull. Dietrich Mateschitz wanted another driver in the seat, Enrique Bernoldi. Sauber refused because they trusted Kimi, and it cost them $42.4 million, as Mateschitz tore up the agreement on the spot. And then he decided, fine, I'll create my own team. That's how Red Bull Racing came to be, thanks to Kimi. After that, both of them gave us unforgettable memories in Formula 1. And then there was another man who changed Formula 1 forever. A legend everyone knows, Niki Lauda. He was born into a wealthy Austrian family. His grandfather, Hans Lauda, was a famous industrialist. But as you might remember from the movie Rush, Niki quickly lost his family's support. That made it seem like he started from nothing. But the truth? A little different. Before Formula 1, Lauda already had access to things most young drivers could only dream of. He bought a Porsche 911S for hill climb training. And where did the money come from? From his grandmas, after he convinced them he needed cash to buy land. Yes, my grandma baked pies. Lauda bought him a Porsche. But even that wasn't enough. Nicky also had something far more powerful than family money. A big name. He took out massive bank loans, secured by his own life. That's how he bought his way into Formula 2 and eventually Formula 1. By 1971, he had literally paid for his debut in the championship. But unlike the Lances Strolls of the world, in Nicky's case, money was only the key. Enzo Ferrari himself noticed it. In 1974, Lauda got the call. Ferrari wanted him. That was the beginning of one of the greatest technical minds in the sport's history. And then came the Nürburgring. But even that didn't break him. It proved once again that Lauda is one of the most legendary Formula 1 drivers. Everyone hates him. Teammates, rivals, fans. But the truth is, Esteban Ocon isn't arrogant. He simply knows what Formula 1 means to him.
My dad and my mom, they were doing the job of 10 people for 5 years, going around all Europe, training and practicing and basically dedicating our life to racing.
And if you think his family lived in a caravan just because of racing, the reality is...
Sold the garage, sold the house. The house and the garage was the same place anyway. That's where I grew up.
They sold it to support your racing?
Yeah.
They literally gave up everything for him. While others had the best equipment, Ocon...
I had one used chassis, 2 used engine that we chose carefully. And we were recycling tires at testing, you know, going to the bin, taking some tires from other kids.
His talent was clear, even in karting, where he went head-to-head with Verstappen, Leclerc, and Gasly. That was his version of trials. But the real breakthrough came in Formula 3, when he became champion and beat Max. Their rivalry started in childhood, but fate took them on different paths. Max became Red Bull's golden boy, while Ocon joined Mercedes' junior program. Now, they're both inseparable parts of Formula 1, yet Esteban never forgets what his parents sacrificed for him.
I'm giving back what they've done. You know, they've got a house now. I've helped rebuilding a house for them.
Ocon's story is unique, but he's not the only one whose parents gave everything for their child.
My parents sold the house so that I could keep racing, and because without it we would never, there was no chance of getting to Formula 1.
And this shows how inaccessible Formula 1 has become. Without the big teams, these stories wouldn't exist. And even then, success is never guaranteed. Lawson's example at Red Bull is a perfect reminder. Luckily, he's now recovering from injury. Speaking of McLaren drivers who were close to winning a championship, Lando started from being a plucky kid that everyone loved in the paddock to being most people's hated F1 driver. The common accusation that is thrown at Lando's direction is that he's whiny and privileged. And maybe the privileged part has some truth. His father, Lando Norris, is a multi-millionaire investor. He's even made it onto the Sunday Times rich list. But you might know him for something completely different. Before races, drivers were zipping around on scooters. That's Lando's dad's brand, Pure. They even have an official partnership with McLaren. Price? £800? Holy so McLaren's golden boy is giving it his all. Maybe Lance and Latifi could take some business lessons from Lando. Okay, but how did he actually join McLaren? Did his father buy him a seat? Not quite. Lando's real privilege was talent. At 14, he won the karting world championship.
For sure, I'm happy. Now we have the new siren, and for sure, it's a great feeling.
From there, he steadily climbed the ranks, signing with McLaren's Young Driver program in 2017. And now, he's sitting in second place in the World Championship. Most people use Lando's wealthy background to throw it against him, mostly because they hate McLaren's dominance this year. But is that really fair? Comment on what you think. It seems that all 7-time champions have known poverty, and I'm not talking about Lewis Hamilton, but Michael Schumacher.
Any last words for anybody back at home?
I think my parents want to say just hello to them.
That line carried a lot of meaning. Schumacher was born into a small working-class family. His father, Rolf, worked as a bricklayer before managing a local go-kart track. His mother, Elizabeth, supported it by running the cafeteria. So it's no surprise what Michael chose from childhood. His first kart wasn't a polished factory machine. It was built from scraps, powered by a motorcycle engine his father bolted on. Even then, they barely afforded racing. Rolf often covered Michael's entry fees by fixing other people's karts, while Michael himself raced with borrowed engines and used tires.
We always used the cheapest means possible, and when others threw away their tires, I would take them out of the trash and put them on my own car, and I won races with them. But I was very glad that I never won races with the best equipment, but always with the worst.
But what he lacked in equipment, he made up with something else.
Because in Germany, we have to do qualifying runs and that costs money. And if we drop out there, we don't qualify for the World Championship. And in Luxembourg, we're the only entrant, it doesn't cost any money, and we're qualified.
Pure intelligence and incredible natural pace. Just listen to this guy.
For Monaco qualifying. There's only one toilet in the garage, as you know. So he's in the toilet, and I go down, and it's 10 minutes before, and I know that, okay, I have my 2-minute session now for the last pee, and then jump in the car and go, qualifying. So I knock on the door because the door is locked, and I'm like, Nico here, please let me in. No answer, nothing. So I'm like knocking, no answer, nothing, locked. But I can hear that someone's in there. So here was Michael in the toilet, leaning against the wall, looking at his watch, and he knew that if as long as he made it out with 3 minutes to go, he could still just about jump in the car, put the seatbelts, and go.
By 1990, Michael's persistence paid off. He won the German Formula 3 championship, proving that raw talent can shine even without money. And then, a year later, an angry taxi driver changed Formula 1 forever. Yes, you heard that right. On December 10 in London, a taxi and another car collided. The furious driver yanked the other man by the tie and shouted, "I'll kill you." The man responded by spraying him with pepper spray. That man wasn't just any man. It was Jordan F1 driver Bertrand Gachot. And for defending himself, he got an unbelievable 2-year prison sentence. Suddenly, Jordan needed a replacement. That's when Mercedes, not yet a constructor in Formula 1, stepped in with a name from their junior program, Michael Schumacher. At Spa, Michael stunned everyone on his debut. Within weeks, he switched to Benetton, and from that moment, the Schumacher era began. However, before Schumacher's era came another giant, Ayrton Senna. For Brazil, he wasn't just a driver. He embodied the country's passion, charm, and raw emotion. That's why many people are surprised to learn that Senna actually grew up in relative comfort. His father was a wealthy landowner and factory owner. Ayrton spent his childhood on a picturesque estate in Sao Paulo, with a large family farm where he later even built a private racetrack. So, unlike Alonso or Schumacher, Senna had access to the best equipment from the very beginning. Backed by his family's support, he left college and moved to England at 18 to chase his dream in single-seaters. Success came quickly. Senna dominated the British Formula 3 Championship and stepped into Formula 1 just a year later. And the world soon witnessed one of the greatest drivers of all time. But then came 1994. The unthinkable happened. Although Ayrton is gone, his presence still lives on. His fans remain loyal, and the Senna Foundation continues to use his family's wealth and name to help underprivileged children to this day.